Archangel Michael waited until they left, and then revealed what they've really been doing behind your back. A divine pause descended after they walked away, a hush too sacred to be broken by human noise, a silence heavy with the weight of revelation. Heaven held its breath, and so did the angels, for this moment had been foreseen, not in earthly time, but in the realms where eternal truth is written. Archangel Michael did not speak until the clamor faded, until every counterfeit voice had left the room, and the only echo was the cry of your spirit rising to meet its true defender. He waited until your heart stopped replaying their departure, until your soul no longer yearned for the apology that would never come. He waited for you to stop asking, "What did I do wrong?" and start asking, "What is heaven trying to show me?" Because this message, this word, was never meant for the ears of the casual or the curious. It was sealed in heaven for the spiritually discerning, for those whose spirits have endured the fire and yet still believe. This is not a word for the many. It is a divine release for the few, the ones who have been betrayed behind closed doors, smiled at by Judah's hearts, and left to question their own discernment. You didn't imagine it. You didn't misunderstand. What you felt was real, and what you are about to hear is holy. You had to be alone for this word. Heaven demanded your separation before it could release this revelation. Because this word doesn't just comfort, it confirms. It doesn't just explain, it exposes. An exposure, beloved, is never gentle. It is surgical. It is divine. It is redemptive. Michael waited until the silence ruled, because the next sound you hear would not be the noise of chaos but the voice of clarity, the voice of justice, the voice of heaven's sword. This message is reserved for those chosen by fire, those who didn't break, even when every weapon was formed against them. Stillness was required, and obedience will now unlock what was hidden. The scroll has been unsealed. The sword is lifted, and heaven is ready to speak. Type "I am chosen" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 666 is now surrounding you. Heaven speaks now, not through rumor, not through suggestion, but through the commanding voice of Archangel Michael, heaven's captain, the defender of the righteous, the sword drawn in the spirit for such a time as this. With fire in his eyes and authority in his breath, he declares, in the next 2 hours, be spiritually alert. The veil is being lifted. The truth is being exposed. And what was done behind your back is now being judged before the throne. This is not a word for those still clinging to the opinions of man. This is not a message for those content with surface peace and shallow friendships. This is a divine alert sent only to the marked, those whose discernment has made them targets, those whose loyalty has been betrayed in the shadows, those whose hearts have been pierced without a weapon ever being drawn. You were not meant to overhear what you felt, because heaven already heard it all. Someone's silence spoke louder than their presence ever could, and God took notes. What you've endured in confusion, God is now translating into confirmation. Because confusion is not your portion, clarity is. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. The grief you've carried privately is about to meet public vindication. This silence was not abandonment, it was positioning. They had to walk out so this message could walk in. They had to fall away so heaven could fall upon you. Michael says, guard your gates, guard your mind, guard your spirit. Because in the next 2 hours, strategies from darkness will attempt to cloak themselves in comfort. Do not fall for the familiar. Do not respond to what sounds good but feels wrong. What you call intuition, we call the Holy Spirit. Listen deeply now. Heaven has waited for this moment, for your heart to become still enough to recognize that what you thought was rejection was actually redirection, that what felt like betrayal was heaven's brutal kindness, exposing what could no longer be hidden, revealing what could no longer be tolerated. Because your spirit is too valuable, your purpose too potent, your assignment too sacred to allow access to those who have already misused their invitation. Someone has smiled in your face but cursed your name in private. Someone celebrated your wins publicly, only to resent them secretly. Someone you confided in has become the one reporting your every step to places your feet were never supposed to tread. But fear not. You were never alone. Michael has stood beside you, invisible but armed, silent but ready, watching every interaction not as a passive observer but as a warrior angel, assigned by heaven to guard your destiny from premature harm. And now the silence breaks. Heaven has spoken. The clock has started. Within the next 2 hours, the spiritual atmosphere around you will begin to shift. The thoughts will rise. Faces will come to mind. Memories will resurface, not to torment, but to testify. What you didn't understand then, the Spirit will now interpret. What confused you then, the Spirit will now clarify. And what you thought was over is only the beginning of your reawakening. You must not ignore the stirring inside of you right now. This is not anxiety, it's activation. This is not fear, it's fire. Michael declares, stand firm. The ground beneath you is holy. Do not lower your voice. Do not doubt your discernment. Do not apologize for outgrowing betrayal, because what they did behind your back, heaven is now putting on display, not to humiliate, but to liberate you, not to gossip, but to govern you forward. This is not vengeance. This is vindication. And your silence has become your courtroom. You never had to fight back, because heaven already took the case. This message is not one of paranoia, but prophecy. What you sensed, what you dreamed, what you wept about in secret, all of it was divine intelligence, downloaded to your spirit before your mind could make sense of it. And now, heaven confirms, you were not crazy. You were called. You were not rejected. You were redirected. You were not broken. You were built for this. So rise. Be alert. Be watchful. For heaven's sword is drawn, and Archangel Michael is moving. Type I am anointed in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1122 is now activated. There were glances that didn't match their words. Smiles that seemed warm but left a chill deep in your bones. You sat at tables where the bread was broken, but so was the trust. You laughed with them. Yes. You gave them access. You lowered your guard. And yet, every part of your spirit knew something wasn't right. You picked up what wasn't spoken. You felt what wasn't said. Because betrayal is not always loud. Sometimes it hides behind hospitality. Sometimes it wraps itself in friendship and cloaks itself in flattery. You didn't imagine the tension in the room. You didn't overreact to the silence in the hallway. Your spirit was alert, even when your mind tried to dismiss the signals. There were inconsistencies you noticed, but chose not to confront. Words that shifted depending on who was in the room. Stories that lacked clarity. Glances exchanged when your back was turned. And the weight, the spiritual weight, that fell on you every time they left. They walked out, yes, but their residue remained. Shadows lingered in the corners of your peace. You were trying to walk in love, but your soul was stumbling through fog. Archangel Michael now confirms what you sensed but couldn't name. You were being deceived behind your back. Someone presented loyalty while entertaining sabotage. Someone embraced you, but in their heart, they resented the oil on your life. They smiled when you succeeded, but seethed in silence. Heaven took note of it all. Heaven watched what you overlooked. And now, heaven is revealing what it was always aware of. You are not paranoid, you are spiritually aware. You are not emotional, you are anointed. You are not sensitive, you are chosen. And the weight you've been carrying isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You've been discerning spirits that didn't announce themselves. You've been battling warfare wrapped in casual conversation. There is no peace when your spirit knows it's being studied by those who envy it. And no ease when the ones closest to you are taking notes to later use against you. And that's what this was, surveillance, not support. The Holy Spirit says, stop apologizing for seeing what I showed you. Your discernment had been a gift, not a liability. You were not called to be blind to deception. You were called to confront it in the Spirit. You may have blamed yourself. You may have questioned your own heart. But the confusion you felt, the sudden weariness, the emotional waves, the unexplainable sadness, was not your own. It was spiritual interference. What they said about you when you weren't around it clung to the atmosphere. Your spirit picked it up before your ears ever could. Michael stands now with a sword drawn, not against you, but for you. Because what was whispered in corners is being overturned in the heavens. What they hoped would crush you has only clarified your calling. And what they intended as a setup has become the scene of your spiritual awakening. Heaven's decree is this: what has been hidden is being revealed. What has been confusing is being clarified. What hath been sent to disrupt you is being dismantled. You are not crazy. You are not overreacting. You are a spiritual vessel tuned into a frequency most cannot hear. And that frequency is screaming now with confirmation. Every delay, every betrayal, every closed door, it all makes sense now. Michael waited until the last person left the room, so the revelation could be released in full power. Now you know. Now you see. Now you rise, not in bitterness but in divine clarity. If this message resonates with you and you feel moved to support, consider giving a super thanks, with contributions of up to $10. Your kindness helps us bring more powerful content your way. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating through the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. Don't forget to subscribe to receive ongoing prophetic insight, spiritual tools, and angelic strategies for your journey. Join a community of warriors walking in truth and power. Type I receive clarity in the comments if you feel this word. Blessing code 1414 is now surrounding you. Now hear this. What's happening is bigger than you think. This is not just about friendships lost or secrets exposed. This isn't just human drama. This is not gossip. This is not petty. This is spiritual warfare at its highest level, and you, child of God, are the central target. Michael speaks. Your peace provoked a war in the unseen. Your calm shook the chaos. Your stability irritated the spirits they're still dancing with. You didn't start a fight, but your very presence became a disruption to demonic agendas. You think you're just living life, but your light has drawn unwanted attention in the spirit realm. What they thought was weakness was actually restraint. What they thought was naivety was supernatural wisdom. You passed tests without knowing they were tests. You endured hits you never responded to. You smiled while being scrutinized, and heaven recorded it all. Because this wasn't just about people, it was about spirits working through people. The battle was never personal. It was always spiritual. Some were planted around you not to love you, but to monitor you. To see what level of resistance you had. To see how easily they could break your focus. But you didn't fold. You didn't snap. You didn't give them the reaction they were trained to provoke. That silence. That self-control. That was warfare. That was holy. Michael now brings you this sacred intel. You are under spiritual surveillance because your future is under heavenly construction. They saw the favor rising. They saw the glow before you even realized it. They saw the shift in your atmosphere and assumed it was luck, but what they were witnessing was divine preparation. The reason it felt intense is because it was. You've been in the middle of a spiritual chess game, and heaven has just declared checkmate. Understand this. Every moment you didn't react was an act of resistance. Every prayer you whispered under your breath while pretending everything was fine, that was warfare. Every time you chose peace over retaliation, you place your trust in divine justice. Michael says, your restraint was not your defeat. It was your weapon. And now that weapon is returning powerfully against every spirit that sought to undermine you. They thought your kindness was a sign of ignorance. But heaven knows better. Heaven saw you biting your tongue, choosing grace, holding space for people who never held space for you. And now, because you didn't contaminate your testimony with retaliation, God is about to crown you publicly for the humility you maintained privately. This was not a random conflict. This was an attempt to provoke you out of position. But you stayed. You endured. You obeyed. And that obedience is now being met with acceleration. The season has changed. The swords are drawn. And heaven is fighting on your behalf. You are not the victim of a plot. You are the victor of a prophecy. They saw you as easy prey, but heaven sees you as a spiritual general in training. You've been tested not just by people but by spirits. And now you've been proven. The enemy's reports are inaccurate. The traps have failed. And the truth has been released. Your next move is not to fight. It is to stand. Stand in knowing. Stand in authority. Stand in spiritual confidence. The battle belongs to the Lord, and Archangel Michael has taken command. Type I stand in power in the comments if this message confirms what your spirit already sensed. Blessing code 1717 has been released over your life. There's movement in the background you cannot see, yet heaven sees it clearly. The whispers in dark corners, the carefully crafted smiles, the rehearsed apologies, the conversations laced with hidden agendas. Archangel Michael stands at the threshold of time and issues a holy warning. Do not be fooled by what returns pretending to be peace. In the next 72 hours, masks will begin to slip. Personas will crumble under the pressure of your discernment. You've been praying for clarity. Now heaven is answering not with whispers, but with exposure. People you once trusted, people you defended, people you covered in prayer are about to show you what they've really carried in their hearts. Not because you were careless, but because they were deceptive. Not because you missed the signs, but because you extended grace where they saw opportunity. This is not the hour to explain yourself, defend your actions, or entertain familiar voices with familiar language. Heaven is not asking you to respond. Heaven is asking you to withdraw. There is a return moment being planned, but it is not reconciliation. It is re-entry with false motive. Michael says, what they want is not healing. It is information. What they seek is not peace. It is access. They left the room, but their assignment didn't end. Some are circling back not out of love, but because the grace that covers you is irritating the darkness they're still aligned with. They see your movement. They sense your elevation. And their proximity now is not about connection. It's about control. And this is the trap. They'll come sounding kind, sounding humble, sounding changed, but their spirit has not shifted. Only their tactics have. Be warned, not all invitations are from God. Not all reconciliations are divine. Some doors need to remain closed, even if knocking increases. Some bridges need to burn, even if they cry while it happens. Michael warns, do not respond to what looks familiar if your spirit feels foreign. You've outgrown some rooms. You've outlived some covenants. And heaven will not allow what you've been healed from to reattach itself to your future. Pressure is building, and confusion will come as a final test. In this hour, lies will be spun as truth, guilt will be disguised as repentance, and charm will wear the robe of reconciliation. But God is not mocked. Your obedience must be greater than your emotional desire to fix what God already tore apart. Every time you rescue what heaven has rejected, you delay what heaven has prepared. The test now is not how loud you shout. The test now is your ability to discern in silence, to see what is being packaged as divine opportunity, but is actually a recycled distraction. Heaven is not asking you to entertain conversations, meetings, or reconciliations that God never approved. Michael says, this is a moment to guard your gates, not open them. You don't need closure. You don't need clarity from man. You need courage to obey what your spirit already knows. Within 72 hours, their intentions will manifest. Their strategies will be exposed. The mask will crack. And when it does, stand still. Don't bloat. Don't retaliate. Don't re-engage. Just let it fall. Because God is removing what pretended to be loyal. He is cleansing what you tolerated. He is purging what you accommodated. And you must not grieve but with secretly grieving your progress. Let them talk. Let them twist the narrative. Let them pretend. Heaven is your witness. Michael is your defender. God is your judge, and the court of heaven has already ruled. Type I choose obedience in the comments if you receive this warning. Blessing code 1818 is now activated over your discernment. Now that the warning has been delivered, heaven shifts the atmosphere. Archangel Michael, heaven's appointed warrior and guardian, draws closer, not with sword, but with shield. And his message is this: be still. Your silence is a weapon. Your stillness is a shield. Your peace is a signal to heaven that you trust divine timing over human explanation. Do not rush to speak. Do not race to explain. Do not feel obligated to clarify. Heaven is not asking you to correct the narrative. Heaven is asking you to protect your soul. This is not the hour of defense. This is the hour of divine observation. Every word you hold back is a spiritual seed. Every silence you steward is a sacred strategy. There is power in your pause. Michael says withdraw, not in defeat, not in shame, but in wisdom. You do not need to sit at tables where your presence is tolerated but your power is feared. You do not need to keep re-entering rooms where your discernment is mocked and your purity misjudged. This is the season of divine detachment. What you walk away from will no longer walk back into your heart. Let them wonder why you went silent. Let them misread your absence. Heaven sees. Heaven knows. And heaven is proud of you for choosing discipline over drama. You are not missing opportunities by staying quiet. You are protecting what God is about to multiply. Silence is not retreat. It is sacred resistance. It is heaven's signal that you are no longer participating in cycles that kept your spirit tired. Archangel Michael surrounds you. As you stand in obedience, he stands in formation. Shield drawn, wings spread, guarding the perimeter of your assignment. He is not there to help you speak louder. He is there to help you remain unbothered. You do not need to expose them. God will. You do not need to correct them. God will. Your assignment is to remain in posture, still, steady, and sealed in truth. Because something holy happens when you go quiet. Something powerful shifts in the spirit when you choose stillness. Every time you stay silent when falsely accused, heaven sends angels to handle what your mouth doesn't need to touch. Every time you walk away without responding, you step deeper into alignment. You are not being passive, you are being positioned. Michael confirms, heaven only fights when earth becomes still enough. And right now, your stillness is an invitation for divine intervention. It's a sacrifice. It's a statement. It's your spirit saying, I trust God more than I trust my flesh to vindicate me. And in that trust, angelic defense is activated. To say less, withdraw more. Protect your space. Keep your spiritual gates closed. Not out of fear, but out of reverence. Not because you're hiding, but because you're healing. You don't need to tell them what God told you. You don't need to explain your silence. You are being shielded from retaliation, from entanglement, from distraction. Heaven is proud of your restraint. Let them speak. Let them speculate. Let them assume. Heaven has appointed witnesses. Angels have recorded the truth. And what you choose not to say now will scream in the season of your public promotion. Your silence is not emptiness. It is elevation. It is prophecy wrapped in stillness. It is warfare dressed in wisdom. Stay low. Stay quiet. Stay hidden until heaven says otherwise. Type I am shielded in the comments if you choose silence as your sword. Blessing code 2222 is now surrounding your peace. There is a holy shift underway, and you are not the same person who stood in yesterday's pain. That former version of you, the one who tolerated disloyalty and made excuses for betrayal, the one who dimmed their light so others wouldn't feel convicted, that version of you is no longer breathing. That version of you was buried in the silence. And now, you rise in fire. Archangel Michael steps forward, and the ground trembles beneath his feet as he speaks with righteous clarity. You have endured the stripping. Now comes the strength. You have passed the private testing. Now comes the public elevation. What tried to suffocate your voice has only sharpened your vision. What attempted to humiliate you has only hardened your resolve. You were underestimated by them, but never by heaven. You need to understand something vital now. The betrayal wasn't just to break you. It was to blind you from who you were becoming. But heaven shielded your identity in the fire. While they laughed, mocked, questioned your value, the heavens were engraving your new name. A name not recognized by the insecure or the manipulative. A name only revealed in the halls of obedience. You have been in hiding, yes, but it was never weakness. It was preservation. This is the moment where everything starts to accelerate. And the same eyes that overlooked you are about to watch you be elevated without their approval. Because your next level does not require their permission. Your anointing has never been up for debate. Your purpose has never been up for negotiation. They tried to define you based on what they assumed, but heaven defines you based on what it assigned. You are not rising in arrogance. You are rising in alignment. This glow on you, this power in your voice, this fire in your presence is not cosmetic. It is the consequence of consecration. You've been forged in silence, refined by rejection, baptized in the fire of isolation. And now, heaven is releasing the aroma of your preparation into every room you enter. Archangel Michael declares, you will walk out with power, not permission. You are no longer explaining your call. You are executing it. You are no longer debating your worth. You are demonstrating it. What they thought was the end of you was simply the emission of something eternal. The glow they're starting to notice is not new. It's just visible now. It's the shine of someone who stayed faithful when it made no sense. No, you're not bitter. You're built. You're not angry. You're activated. You're not wounded. You're weaponized. You have become what they never expected, whole, wise, and wildly on fire for heaven's purpose. And the beauty of it all is this: you didn't have to retaliate to rise. You didn't have to fight dirty to be found faithful. You've walked through valleys that others didn't survive. You've praised while bleeding. You've stood when shaking. You obeyed when it cost you relationships, support, comfort, and convenience. And now, the shift is irreversible. You are stepping into your divine identity fully clothed in power, dignity, and destiny. Michael says, do not shrink again. Do not look back. Do not apologize for what I am about to do through you. Because this is your rising, not for validation but for visitation. God is visiting your life in fresh authority. Mantles are falling. Gifts are awakening. Doors are opening not because of who you know, but because of who you are. They thought you were finished. But heaven says you've only just begun. Type I rise in power in the comments if this word affirms your season. Blessing code 2020 is now flowing in your favor. His betrayal wasn't random. It wasn't just a relational mishap. It was prophetic, designed by divine intelligence, orchestrated with surgical precision. What happened to you had to happen, not to destroy you, but to expose what could not go with you. You were ascending, and everything unclean had to be shaken loose. God allowed the betrayal, not to punish you, but to protect the promise. Archangel Michael speaks with undeniable authority. This was heaven's way of revealing the enemies that wore friendship's clothing. What looked like disloyalty was divine deliverance. What felt like rejection was holy redirection. It wasn't just about who left, it was about what they carried. Your spirits attached to their words, assignments attached to their access. And God, in mercy, removed them before they could sabotage what's coming next. You are being unlocked now. Every spiritual padlock placed on your purpose, every chain of confusion, every shackle of people-pleasing, every rope of false loyalty, is breaking in the spirit realm. And the sound of that breaking is echoing into your future. This is not a healing season. This is a birthing season. And like every true birthing, it comes with pressure, pain, and power. Heaven has whispered your name in the courts of glory. Your obedience hath been heard. Your endurance has been seen. Your tears have spoken louder than your prayers. And now, heaven has authorized a promotion, not just in status, but in stature, in discernment, in capacity, in spiritual weight. You are not just known by heaven, you are now being established by it. Michael says, your name was spoken in heaven. Yes, your name. Not the version they wanted you to be, not the version you pretended to be, but your name, refined, chosen, risen through fire. You've become trustworthy in the Spirit. You've proven that you can carry weight without dropping worship. And now, heaven trusts you with more. What was withheld in the last season is being released swiftly. The bottleneck has broken. The delay has ended. The stagnation is reversing. Why? Because you passed the test. You stayed planted when it would have been easier to uproot yourself. You kept your posture of praise while others questioned your pain. And God, in His all-seeing majesty, took note. This is not about revenge. It's about reveal. What was hidden is being uncovered. What was whispered is being declared. What was taken is being returned, multiplied. This is your season of divine emergence, and you won't have to announce it. Your fruit will do the talking. Michael says, stop looking for validation from those who weren't assigned to understand your calling. It's time to let go of needing them to see you. Heaven already does. God allowed this betrayal because He knew your heart would break, but He also knew your spirit would rise. And rise it has. Not in rebellion, but in revelation. You've been entrusted with a level of clarity that cannot be taught, only birthed through pain. This is the birth of your next level. This is your prophetic release. Doors are opening without you knocking. Blessings are being dispatched without you begging. Why? Because you've aligned. Because you've surrendered. Because you dared to believe that what broke you also built you. They tried to bury you, but they didn't know you were a seed. And now, the harvest is inevitable. If this message resonates with you and you feel moved to support, consider giving a super thanks with contributions of up to $20. Your kindness helps us bring more powerful content your way. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating through the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. Be sure to subscribe for more divine insights, angelic warnings, and prophetic instruction. Your journey forward is filled with purpose. Let's walk it together. Type I receive this level in the comments if this prophetic revelation is yours. Blessing code 777 is now activated over your breakthrough. Speak it aloud, not with hesitation, not with fear, but with the confidence of one who has survived the purging fire. I am chosen, and I rise. This is not just a declaration. It is a summons, a spiritual unlocking, a divine password that shifts the atmosphere and signals to heaven that you are ready. Ready to step into the life that was written before betrayal tried to reroute your soul. Ready to embrace the weight of glory your trials have qualified you to carry. Archangel Michael's voice pierces through the static of fear and hesitation. Heaven is waiting on your yes, not their approval. You've been looking outward, waiting for a green light from the wrong source, looking for agreement from the same mouths that tried to silence your calling. But now the alignment comes not through them, but through your own obedience. Your destiny is not a democracy. Your anointing was never a committee decision. Heaven's yes has always been the loudest. It's time for you to echo it back with your life. Declare it with fire. No more delay. I step into purpose. Because delay is not always demonic. Sometimes it's internal. It's that whisper that says you're not ready. It's the memory of what they did that still clings to your confidence. It's the trauma of being overlooked, underestimated, mishandled. But Michael declares that delay has expired. The pain has served its purpose. Now step. You're not being called forward because you feel whole. You're being called forward because you are willing. Because even with your questions, you said yes. Even with your wounds, you remained faithful. Even when they laughed, when they lied, when they left, you stayed standing. Your obedience did what your strength couldn't. And heaven took notice. Archangel Michael reminds you now, your obedience activates angels. There are assignments waiting for your yes. There are gates in the spirit realm that will not open until you step forward. Heaven is waiting to release what's been held, but it must meet movement. God doesn't bless hesitation. He blesses boldness. Your next miracle is in your motion. Your next level is on the other side of your obedience. This is no longer about healing. This is about harnessing. You've wept. You've processed. You've been refined. And now God says, walk. Walk like it's already yours. Move like every room is waiting for your voice. Show up like you carry heaven's DNA, because you do. You are not walking in blindly. The path is already cleared. The provision is already there. The favor is already activated. All that's needed now is your yes. The shift in the spirit is demanding a response. Not a whisper. Not a maybe. A soul-deep agreement that shakes the very dust of delay off your life. It's time to stop doubting what God confirmed. It's time to stop comparing your timing to theirs. Your timeline is divine. Your pace is prophetic. The moment they left was a moment heaven began the activation. This is not the hour to explain yourself. This is the hour to emerge. You are not here to play small, to appease broken expectations, to live beneath your inheritance. You are here to build, to speak, to reign. And the authority you carry is not for show, it's for war. You are being assigned to break cycles in your bloodline, to open doors for those who will come after you, to be the answer to prayers prayed generations ago. Heaven's spotlight is not always visible. Sometimes it's felt, and you feel it now. That stirring in your gut, that fire in your bones, that sudden stillness that hits your soul. That's heaven confirming. This moment is your spiritual promotion. Don't let fear talk you out of it. Don't let memory mute your roar. This is the answer to a silent prayer. You've been asking for direction, asking for proof, asking for signs, and heaven answers not with a whisper, but a divine command. Step into it. Not next month. Not when they believe in you. Now, this is not just a word. This is a summon. Type I am chosen in the comments if your destiny is now activated. Blessing code 555 is unlocking your next level. While your eyes were closed, while your hands were limp in the quiet ache of exhaustion, while your mind wrestled with questions no one else could answer, heaven was moving. What you didn't see, the Spirit recorded. What you couldn't articulate, the angels carried. And in that stillness, in that place between surrender and silence, there was a divine exchange. Archangel Michael speaks with holy reverence now. While you rested, heaven was at war for you. This wasn't a pause. It was a positioning. The moments where you felt left behind, those were the moments you were being lifted in the Spirit. The times when your tears soaked your pillow, those were the offerings on heaven's altar. Your weakness was not wasted. Your rest was not passive. It was participation in a spiritual transaction. Michael stood guard, not just around you, but within the corridors of your destiny. While demons plotted, angels negotiated. While liars schemed, heaven rewrote outcomes. And in the courtroom of divine justice, your name was defended with fire. The things stolen behind your back are being returned openly. The honor stripped in secret is being restored in plain sight. This is a realm few ever witness, but your spirit has felt it. That unexplained peace you've been walking in. That sudden clarity that has entered your atmosphere. That's the result of what took place in the spirit while your body rested. While the world thought you were idle, Heaven was active. Contracts were reversed. Words were annulled. Assignments were broken. Curses were shattered. And listen now, for this is not poetic. This is prophetic. There was a trade. What was meant for your destruction has now become your defense. The sorrow that almost broke your voice has become the soil where heaven is planting fresh authority. You didn't just survive. You've been spiritually promoted. Not because of performance, but because of persistence. Not because of perfection, but because of posture. You didn't quit. You didn't retaliate. You wept, but you worshipped. You broke, but you believe. And because of that, a silent exchange has occurred in the heavens. The glory that now rests on your life is the evidence of what was negotiated for your name in divine chambers. Your restlessness, that midnight wrestling in your chest, was never natural. It was spiritual. Your spirit felt the shift before your mind could catch up. You were waking up without cause, sensing something moving, feeling the weight of atmospheres you couldn't explain. That was heaven reordering paths. That was Michael pushing back darkness, trying to find its way into your rest. The Holy Spirit whispers now, you are safe. It's already done. You no longer need to beg for what's already been released. You no longer need to fear what's already been destroyed. The silent exchange was not just for this moment. It was for your legacy. Your children will feel this peace. Your bloodline will walk in this freedom. What ended in silence will speak for generations. Your healing was never loud. Your deliverance was never public. But its effects will echo through time. You are walking proof of divine reversal. Heaven didn't need applause to bless you. It just needed your stillness. And you gave it. Let them wonder how you rose. Let them question where the strength came from. The answer will always be, while I was resting, God was restoring. While you slept, heaven sealed what hell tried to reopen. Michael says now, walk forward. The exchange is complete. The transaction is sealed. The reward has been dispatched. Type I receive heaven's trade in the comments if your silent season has now become sacred. Blessing code 3030 is flowing into your rest. Now comes the decree. The courtroom of heaven stands still as the judgment is read aloud by the voice of Archangel Michael. There is no appeal, no delay, no more behind the scenes. What they did in darkness is now judged in light. The lies, the sabotage, the false agreements made in secret meetings and spoken over your name without your knowledge, all of it is being brought into divine exposure. And not just exposed, reversed. Michael's sword is not swinging wildly. It is targeted. It is deliberate. It is judicial. For too long, your heart has cried for justice while your hands remained clean. You wanted to scream the truth, but you obeyed heaven's command to stay silent. You endured humiliation, smiled through suspicion, and bore the weight of wounds that others inflicted with surgical cruelty. And now, the gavel has dropped in the spirit. Justice is no longer pending. It is being delivered. This is not man's justice. This is divine justice. Swift. Exact. Irrefutable. The weight of what was done to you, dismissed by men but recorded by God, has now reached its divine threshold. The Lord has ruled, and his judgment comes not only as correction but as vindication. You will watch, with your own eyes, the fall of what rose against you, but not in bitterness, in awe, not in vengeance, in vindication. For what is about to take place will be so complete, so undeniable, that even your enemies will say, surely, the hand of God is on them. This is the reversal. The season of sorrow is flipping into a season of reward. What they tried to bury will now blossom. The very weapons they formed, twisted words, false accusations, manipulations, silence, have now become the stepping stones beneath your feet. I meant to destroy you, but they activated your destiny instead. Michael declares, everything meant to harm you will now lift you higher. They stole your peace, and God multiplied it. They tried to break your name, and God built a platform from the pieces. They tried to delay you, and now heaven is accelerating you. Divine reversal isn't a concept, it's a manifestation. And it's happening now. The spiritual scales aren't just being balanced, they're being blessed. What you lost is returning, but not in its original form. It's returning with interest, with favor, with spiritual authority. You didn't retaliate, and because of that, God is compensating you himself. You won't have to knock on doors. Doors will open on command. You won't have to beg for support. Heaven is endorsing you. Every prayer you prayed in pain, every moment you remained silent when falsely accused, every time you turned your face to the wall and said, God, fight for me. Those cries have reached their final echo in heaven's chambers. And now, the judge of all things has ruled. Your vindication is irreversible. Let this be known in the spirit and confirmed in the natural. You are cleared. You are covered. And you are about to be crowned. The oil they tried to stop from flowing is now overflowing. The honor they tried to erase is now being etched in spiritual stone. And Michael himself is walking ahead of you, clearing paths, leveling mountains, and exposing what still tries to operate in shadows. There will be no confusion about this. No one will be able to say it was coincidence or manipulation. This will be heaven's signature, raw, undeniable, divine reversal. If this word has been a witness to your spirit, consider giving a super thanks with contributions of up to $5. Your support helps us bring more anointed content directly to you and others in need of prophetic clarity. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating through the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. And if you haven't yet, subscribe now for more messages that carry the voice of heaven, the sword of the Spirit, and the oil of revelation. Stay aligned. Stay ready. Type I am vindicated in the comments if this reversal is yours. Blessing code 888 is now ruling in your favor. And now, the final word is released. The scroll is sealed. The sword is returned to its sheath. And Archangel Michael lowers his head in holy reverence as the Father speaks through him one final time. You are not forgotten. You are divinely remembered. Heaven does not miss a moment. Not a single tear escaped God's notice. Not a single betrayal went unrecorded. Not a single groan of your spirit went unheard. And because of that, a divine shield has been forged around your destiny. You are now walking beneath the covering of remembrance. You are seen, sealed, and sent. May heaven surround you like never before. Angels are on assignment, not just to guard, but to guide. Divine detours are closing. Crooked paths are being made straight. You will no longer wander through confusion. You will no longer pray from a place of uncertainty. Clarity is coming like a wave, crashing into your life, washing away fear, doubt, and indecision. Let peace be your confirmation. Let clarity be your path. When the stillness speaks, listen. When the doors open, walk. When the silence returns, rest in it. You are no longer being tested. You are now being trusted. Trusted to carry wisdom. Trusted to walk in authority. trusted to lead others out of the same fire you've been through. This is not just your recovery, it's your reintroduction. You're not going back to pick up broken pieces. You're moving forward to carry sacred ones. The anointing on your life has increased. The fire has not consumed you, it has purified you. You are walking out of this not bitter, not broken, but branded by fire. The glory that rests on you now isn't because of titles, platforms, or people. It's because of what you endured in secret. It's the residue of heaven's courtroom, the afterglow of divine exchange, the mark of one who has been seen by God. Archangel Michael releases one final decree. Walk as one chosen. Walk as one sent. Walk as one sealed. You no longer need external confirmation. Heaven has signed your release. The assignment is active. The season has shifted. The covering is complete. Nothing behind you compares to what's coming next. The weeping that endured for the night has made way for a sunrise like no other. A light that isn't just ahead of you, it is within you. You are no longer carrying pain. You are carrying prophecy. You are no longer echoing questions. You are becoming the answer. Michael steps back, but the presence remains. The fire remains. The word remains. You are not alone. You are anointed. You are not behind. You are chosen for such a time as this. So rise, not in fear but in fullness, not in haste but in holiness, not with permission but with power. The season of secrecy is over. The public rising has begun. You are sealed. You are seen. You are sent. Now go. Type "I am sent" in the comments if you receive this final blessing. Blessing code 999 has been marked over your destiny.